You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
Welcome back to the Valley Labor Report. My name is Jacob Morrison, here with my co-host and fellow agitator, David Story. If you want to talk to us, you can give us a call at 1-866-494-9866. That is 1-866-494-9866. We were talking about Tupperville before we left, and his comments on the Voting Rights Act, and just to kind of back, because people generally kind of know what the Voting Rights Act did, but they a lot of folks don't know that it was struck down by conservative activist judges that in Scalia's opinion, I believe it was Scalia that wrote this, in Scalia's opinion, he did not have constitutional objections to the Voting Rights Act. He said that the Senate would, or Congress would never have that it was not necessary anymore, and that Congress would never have the guts to repeal it, and so they were going to do it because it was no longer needed. It was not, because this is clearly constitutional. It's clearly constitutional that the government should ensure that people do not have their right to vote violated by local and state political officials, which happened and is happening.
Which is happening now.
On this station, constantly, people say that voter suppression is a myth, and it's just foolish. It's a silly thing to say, because
when we're shutting down polling places in minority voting districts, there's some issue there.
Exactly. Think about all the places in Georgia, in Alabama, and Mississippi that polling places have shut down or have not opened new polling places, and then think about the demographic makeup of that. So during the primary, I saw long lines. Incredibly long lines to vote, and everybody in that line was a minority. I think maybe I saw one white person in this line. So clearly this is a majority-minority polling precinct. I have never in my life, I have voted every single election that I have been eligible for. That's 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, okay? I have never in my life waited more than 15 minutes to vote.
Dude, I've been voting in the country most of my adult life, and I've never waited.
Yeah.
Never waited. Ever.
I have never waited more than 15 minutes, and I'll give you a guess as to the demographic makeup of the precincts that I'm in, okay? And it's lunacy to say that this is not intentional, and it's not as bad. Incredibly, it's not as bad in Alabama as it is in Georgia. Georgia it's been insane. There are people that in the primary waited for, I believe, up to 8 hours to vote. And if you don't think that has an effect on the people that are willing to sit in line for 8 hours, you're lying. You're lying to me. I don't believe you. I don't believe the people that say that waiting in line for 8 hours has no effect on the willingness of citizens to vote. I don't believe you, okay? If you're saying that, I don't believe you. And it's the gall to be able to be a public figure and lie so brazenly is amazing to me.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Jacob.
And Tommy Tupperville doesn't know a thing about it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point that I was about to make is I don't think it's the fact that Tuberville really is against the Voting Rights Act of 1965. I don't think it's the fact that he would like to go in and repeal the Voting Rights Act of 1965. I think it's just a simple fact that he's ignorant. I mean, and that's a hard thing to say, that we have somebody running for senator of our state that is just, and into today's society, it's willful ignorance.
Yeah.
Because there's enough information out there, you're going to research it. But the fact is, why research anything? Why put out any policy? Why schedule a debate with Senator Jones? Because I think the R next to my name is the only thing that I need to win. And it's my opinion that the people of Alabama deserve to hear someone articulate the policy that they are going to support when they get in office.
Right. You know, the question comes up a lot. Is it stupidity or is it evil, right? Is it ignorance or is it malevolence? And I think for a lot of these people, the answer is yes. You know, are they stupid or evil? Yes, is the answer. He obviously doesn't know anything about the Voting Rights Act, but he knows that he has to know enough that it helps him and it hurts minorities and the ability for minorities to make their voices heard. That's all he needs to know. That's all that he needs to know. I mean, it's stupid or evil. The answer is yes.
Well, they know for a fact that, you know, the last numerous presidential elections, including this previous one, if you go by a Democratic vote, that the Republicans never win. They can't win.
Republicans have won the popular vote one time in the past 35 years.
So they know for one they need to prop up the electoral college, and for two they need to suppress Democratic votes because that's the only way they win. They don't support working class people in this state or in this country.
Well, speaking of voting, especially with Ginsburg's death, I'm genuinely worried about a repeat of the 2000 election where not only the winner of the popular vote, but the winner of the Electoral College did not become the president of the United States. And I'm worried about something worse happening because, I mean, what's going to happen is you're going to have all these places with mail-in ballots, and the Republicans are going to try to stop them from being counted, and they're going to delay the count, or they're going to just throw all these ballots away, and it's going to go to their state Supreme Courts, which are all run by conservatives or by Republicans, and then the United States Supreme Court is probably just not going to hear these cases, and it's going to stay with the state Supreme Court decision, and we're going to end up in a scenario again like in 2000 where Trump is obviously not going to win the popular vote. That is baked into the cake. He could potentially win the electoral vote, but he could still come out president again after losing the Electoral College, or after losing the votes that would get him the Electoral College, because Republicans are just going to be...
We're going to be counting Chads in Florida?
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me?
Or they're just not going to count mail-in ballots, or they're going to try not to count mail-in ballots.
Yeah. I'm not going to call pull the fire alarm quite yet on stuff like that, because I believe that maybe that we still do have some elected officials with integrity across the nation, but they're fastly dwindling.
I don't know. I'm genuinely worried about it.
Well, organize.
Organize.
Right. We go back to the same thing we always say: organize.
Yeah, and the reason that I'm worried about it is because of the ruthlessness of Mitch McConnell and like his bloodthirsty power grabbing in the wake of Ginsburg's death.
I've never seen nothing. I never would have expected to see that happen within 1 hour of the death being announced. It's sickening, really. It's sickening when politics overrides your basic humanity.
I mean, yeah, that was wild. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the study that found that we're going to switch gears and talk about the study that found that nursing homes that had a union had a 30% lower COVID-19 fatality rate than non-union nursing homes.
No kidding.
No kidding. Non-union workplaces are a public safety risk. We'll talk about that on the other side. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your time. If you want to see what we're up to throughout the week and get our snide quips about the news of the day, then you should follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Valley Labor Report. We're on Twitter at Labor Reporters. I'm on Twitter at JacobM_AL. David is on Twitter at Radical Unionist. That's spelled RADICL Unionist. If you missed part of the show and want to go back and watch it later, search YouTube for The Valley Labor Report and subscribe to our channel. You can go back and watch the full show there, and we also clip segments throughout the week. And we also upload the program on more than 11 different podcasting apps. So you can see if we're on your listening platform of choice. You can go to thevalleylaborreport.transistor.fm/subscribe. And if you appreciate our work and want to help us stay on the air, then consider throwing us a couple dollars a month on patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report.